thank you a lot for having me in this meeting and presenting what the way of working is, how we do it in Luxembourg, and I hope I can give you some information and inspiration for working on a strong organic food supply chain. Okay, so I guess one important thing to tell about Luxembourg is the embedding of Luxembourg in Europe. There's a kind of different points that make the situation in Luxembourg maybe different from the position of other countries in Europe. So one thing is that we have an immense growth in population. We started in 90 when I was a boy, 1970 around, we were 350,000 people in Luxembourg. Right now we are 650,000 in Luxembourg. So this means that we have a huge growth in population, and you would understand that those growth is not coming from Luxembourg people having more babies but it's a growth with people coming from abroad. So for the moment, in Luxembourg itself, we are nearly half of the population is from other countries. So we are a very mixed culture. We have a long tradition of immigration in Luxembourg since the beginning of 1900, more or less. Before we were more a country where people would leave because it was a very poor country. So this is one thing. So and this is important to know, because when you talk about organic food supply chain or national food supply chain, what should be the same in a few years, then you already will consider that having a lot of people from abroad in your country, that it's not the traditional people who are very tight and very close to the national food supply chain, because they come from somewhere else, they have other ways of eating, their food preferences are different from the national one. So we have a very mixed menu on the table, and that table is what's on the table is coming from shops, and so our shops are very internationally orientated. And that's one thing. The second thing is, and this is important as well, or the third thing, excuse me for that, is that we have a lot of cross-border workers. So in addition to those 650,000 who are days over in Luxembourg, there is 220,000 other people coming in the country every day. And of course, those people, they are bringing work input to Luxembourg, but in the evening they leave the country again, and those people as well are still very much orientated to their own food habits. So this, all I'm saying now is that we are a small country and we have other restrictions than bigger EU state members would have. And then the fourth picture, you can see the cross-border agroalimentary sector. This to show you that a lot of the food supply chain is not in Luxembourg anymore. We are talking dairy plants, we are doing foodstuffs. All those things are done for Luxembourg in a good cooperation. I need to say that here at this place as well, in a good cooperation in the greater region of Luxembourg. So this means that the national borders are too small, you should say, and that's a good thing. I am fully convinced that not having too much restrictions and protectionism things in the mind is important, but you should know as well, of course, our national farmers, they might from time to time have another look on that. If you would move to the next slide, please. So now here we are on different visions. The one thing is we had together with Gerber Van Vliet, a worldwide known economist, we worked on a strategy for the third industrial revolution of Luxembourg, and one of the things, we had a lot of, all the economy was treated in this publication, in this study, but the main thing now for us is that the decision, or one of the conclusions, were that Luxembourg should be by 2050 100% organic farming. So we are talking more or less of an 100% organic food supply chain as well. And there's another new study was done. We call it Lux strategy, and this goes in the same direction. I have to say, they focus a lot on urban farming, vertical farming, this kind of stuff. But the main things where they work on were not directly in relation to the organic or the primary sector. The next slide, please. Okay, now you have one more little picture that's flipping in, but it shows how we had our transformation from a very national economy over to an economy that works with already food chains or supply chains in every area of our economy, and then we moving on to a very digitalized economy. Next slide, please. So another thing, and one slide I repeated, well, you see it for the second time, but it's directly it's directly linked to the first slide you see there, and there you can see very clear that there you can see what's happening to the primary sector, and this I'm pretty sure that's more or less the same in your country. So one thing is that the number of farms is going down. It's more or less half of the farms every 25 years that stop being active in the primary sector. At the same time, the land to be used for farming business is going down. And of course, for Luxembourg, what you see here, this might be interesting for you. I talked about cross-border. So we don't have only a lot of cross-border workers coming into Luxembourg. At the same time, our farmers, for every hectare we lose in Luxembourg, it's nearly 2 hectares we go and get in the greater region. I don't call it land grabbing, but of course there is a certain concurrency situation, and the farmers in the greater region are not always so happy with the Luxembourg farmers taking over the land, but this shows how we are tightly embedded in the greater region. Next slide, please. So this is another thing, and this is very important to know, because we are talking food supply chain, we are talking strengthening the position of the farmers in there. No, there's different ways of doing that. The one thing is working on public money for farming organically, and the other thing is, of course, trying to set up an economical model where the organic products that the farmers would produce, where those products are transformed and distributed to all of us. For Luxembourg, there's one special thing. We have more than 50% of grassland in our country, and so the working with ruminants and especially dairy cows is a very strong sector. So more than a third of the farms are working on that, and those third of the farms are using more of 70% of the land use for the agriculture sector. So this means that we are very focused on producing milk, and then when the milk quota stopped around 2014, the production of milk went up, At the same time, I just said it, every 25 years we lose, or the number of farms are used by 50%. And another thing we have to point out, because this is important when we are talking supply chain as well, is that, and this is a situation, the situation in most of the countries in Europe, half of the farmers are older than 54 years, and half of those don't have succession for their business. So we will find ourselves back in the situation that as there's not enough young people going into that business, farms will be taller and taller, so they will be tendency, I would say, try to specialize more and more on a certain way of production. And then especially here for the Luxembourg situation, I told you we do a lot of milk. Most of our resources are linked to that milk production, and then you should know that 75% of that milk is exported. So what my question is here, right, it's a question or an indication. So what about a short agri supply chain for milk? So we have some practical problems, and those problems I'm talking here, it's the conventional milk production, but you will all understand that it's for the organic production will be slightly the same. Next slide, please. So what do we do in Luxembourg? What do we do in Europe? The farm to fork strategy, you all know about it. We started our national organic plan 2 years, slightly not 1 year and a half before, but it goes exactly in the same direction. Our aim is by the end of 25 having 20% of organic agriculture in Luxembourg. For the farm to fork, we say by 2030 it will be 25%. So this is more or less the same objective or goal. And then I should then precise that for the moment in Luxembourg we are turning around about 6.3% of organic agriculture, and since October 2018, there we were at 4.2% of organic agriculture. So we had 50% decrease, but we are still very far away from the goals. And there again, that's one of the reasons because why we installed that organic plan. And if you go to the next slide, please. The organic plan, everybody can read it. We have a French and a German version and an English version on our homepage, so you could go there and get yourself some information. But it's more or less we have 4 main objectives, and then behind those 4 objectives we have 29 actions. Those are so I'm talking from 2020 to 2025, those for those 4 years. So we have short-term actions, middle-term actions, and long-term actions. Next slide, please. And now this is one of the slides I presented a few weeks ago in Brussels as well. So the objectives are working on different levels, but the one who is now interesting for us here in this group where we're discussing is the developing and the strengthening of the local, national, regional supply chains, and there more especially I want to stress a little bit on our measure 4.5. And this is increasing the organic products in public canteens or public restauration, and this is for us one way to get the consume of organic products started or create a demand on that side, and then thinking that if enough people will go and say, I need that product in organic quality or that or this and that, that finally the farmers will get confidence to switch over from conventional farming to organic farming. If you mind, go to the next slide, please. So now I give you a very practical example, and that is the last slide I presented this place. So what we did in the first step was installation of pilot projects in teens. So that was school with kids till the age of 18, 19 years old, from 12 to 18, 19. There was kids in the primary school. So we are talking about 6 years to 12. And then we are talking about kids more in the crash. So the very little ones who before they go to a kind of kindergarten or before they go to the normal school. So from two years till 4 or 5. So that's what we did, and to get a hold on how what we are talking about, because there's very much a very general discussion. Oh, we don't get enough organic stuff. Oh, it's too expensive. The kids don't like to eat it. There's a lot of rumors, I would call it like that, going on. So we said, okay, then let's, in those pilot projects, let's collect the data. So what are they buying from the food sector? So we difference it in vegetables, in fruit, in dairy products, in meat. So we really tried to get a very good overview of what's going in. And of course, how much of the stuff that's going in, how much of that is organic origin, how much is conventional origin. And then when we had those things done, and that was a big step to do, because you need to go to all your papers, to all your invoices, and so on and so on and so on. And then people, so in the pilot projects, there was a responsibility on the canteen side to get those things done. The next step was by knowing where they were, where they want to go. So this is the fixing of the goals, a very practical thing, and everybody was, in every pilot project, was free to say where they want to go. So we didn't tell them where they really had to go. We tried to tell them without any obligation. We tried to tell them that if the country says 20% of the national primary production should go organic, then it would be very nice that on the menu, on the table, 20% of the food on the plate afterwards would be organic as well. And then after having fixing goals, we did a review of the results. And the review of the results showed that one canteen managed to go up till 85% of organic part on the plate. Another one managed to get to 45%. So that was one thing. And then that was a very special thing for the pilot projects. We told them, if you have surcost, if the providing with organic food is more expensive than what you till now had in your budget, we pay the difference. So, and that's what we did. And for those 3 pilot projects, I can say that it was a very different approach. In one canteen, we had the costs going up by 10%. If I'm talking 10%, to give you a more exact number, what a meal or what a plate costs a child a day in a canteen, I'm talking about the food part, not of the rest of the costs. So the price went up from €2 to €2.21 or so. Another canteen went up around 60 cents per day per plate. So that was a kind of a huge amount, more or less a third of the price. And then, and this happens as well, another canteen, they managed to stay in their normal budget. And so how did they do that? We had a good information change with them, and we tried to consult them, to be with them. We referred to specialists in the food sector. What they did is mainly by buying, they would buy more or less more from the farmer. So between the farmer and the kitchen, normally there's a different persons who, of course, everybody has to earn money, so this makes the prices higher. But the main thing to get along was to go down with the more expensive parts on the menu, and this is normally dairy products, but in a very often way it's everything what's meat. So they went down with the amount of meat a day per person, and this made that they could go up to 85% of organic products on their plate without having to make more expensive the meal that the people could buy. So that's one thing. So what are the lessons learned out of the pilot projects? Now, of course, pilot project, it's 3 projects. You should know that we in Luxembourg for the moment have nearly 1,300 canteens. So they are public canteens, but they are private run canteens as well. So of all those people where I was talking about, those 200,000 coming from over cross border, but even the people in Luxembourg itself, so the kids going to school, but the people working on their working places. So we have not 450,000 working places in Luxembourg where people do work, or people who's working in Luxembourg. We have all those kids. So we tried now to go with the knowing of out of the pilot projects. We want now to get to know it to the more larger community. And now one thing we did a month ago, we contacted the canteens in Luxembourg from all the villages and towns, and offered them with the knowing out of the pilot projects to help them to get on. And so we offer them a training unit where they get to know how you could work on more organic food on the plate. And at the same time, a very important point for us as well, and we do it now at the same time, is avoiding the food waste. So the offer we presented to all those communities is 102 communities in Luxembourg that we contacted, and they the feedback till now from 102 that we sent 4 weeks ago, we have 25% of the canteens who already had a reaction, and they want to participate in this training unit. And by so we are hoping to get out of the 2 years pilot projects management and studies to go on now very quickly to have practical results. Thank you for listening, and you are very welcome to ask me some questions.
Thank you very much, Gerber. I have one question, but I don't want to steal anybody else's thunder. Does anybody have any points or questions they might want to make? Okay, I'm going to ask a question then. What caught my eye was objective 4.1, Gerber. You talked about the fact that a lot of produce is exported away from Luxembourg, and you've got an emphasis on essentially strengthening and developing supply chains within Luxembourg, particularly on organics. Can you say a bit more about kind of what's involved in that? And presumably that's inextricably linked to the target to increase production to 25% by 2025, I think. So can you say a bit more about objective 4.1?
Yes, I will try.
Very briefly.
Yeah, okay.
I will. Okay, thank you.
I will be very quick on that. Yes, but you are right. It's a kind of nearly contradiction. It's we have but the situation for the moment is the situation we have, and the reality of all this would mean if we would try to get in a balance between the dairy production in Luxembourg
to get that in balance with the consumer of the products, of the number of people who are there. If we would just look on it on the paper and do a brief calculation, then our animal production, or the number of cows should go down by 75% or so on. So of course, this is not the kind of stuff you want to tell your farmers. And I'm working for the Ministry of Agriculture. So we have, but that would be the same if it would be organic. So this is not a problem of organic or conventional farming. This is a problem of the way where we have strong production. But there's other countries in Europe as well who have more stronger or better developed production units. So that's what I was trying to say at the beginning of my presentation. We have to go out of, for Luxembourg as a small country, talking national, only national food supply chain is surely not the answer. We need to be in the greater region, but I have to precise here as well, you're going in the greater region direction of Germany, in the Eifel, so the German Ardennes, if you want to say it like that, but there's a lot of cows there as well. And you go the other way to Belgium, in the Province de Luxembourg, Wallonie, the region around Liège, there's a lot of dairy cows as well. So it's one of the main things that work very well. And of course, the farmers are going to the opportunity what's working best for their place. And you have to say as well, till now, they were right. For the farm itself, economically seen, they made the right choice. For the organic way of looking on it, maybe not, because of too much methane or emissions, whatever. But so we have to do, and that is the hardest part in our job. We have to try to go for the objectives we have. And then looking at the reality as well. And the main thing is that even if all those farmers would turn tomorrow to organic dairy production, we would still have a problem of getting all those cows fed with a good quality of fodder. And we had the problem, at no moment we could drink all that milk by ourselves.
Yes, so it's that tension between, but you grow production, but you need to have organic inputs, and you need to have a ready market for the organic products. Yeah. Monica has just asked a question in the chat about supporting local organic farming in the tenders in the pilot project. I don't know if you did that, local organic farming in the tenders for the canteens.
So there's two things. We try to match local farmers close to the canteen with the canteen. So that's one of the aims. Yeah. Always knowing we are a Ministry of Agriculture. We are not a retailer. So we can give them tips. We can link people or a little group of organic producers for beef meat. We link them to a canteen in question. We do it, but we strongly feel that it's very important to use the whole food supply chain. So this means the slaughterhouse, the distribution. If we want to do it good, there's no need to build a second system or a parallel system for the distribution and for the slaughtering and for transformation. But our thinking is that if farmers we want the farmers to go organic, we want the consumer to eat organic. So the whole food supply chain should be organic. So we really work strongly on the transition, because we are not creating new groups, but we want to do it with the people we have in place. But this means that it takes a certain time, because the transition from going from one system to the other at every level is always difficult.
And I wonder, if Monica was alluding to the procurement rules for tendering for supplying canteens and the extent to which local played a role as well as organic. But maybe Monica might come back later. I'm conscious of time. Jerome, you've got your hand up, so please, very briefly.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I would have a question about, you were talking about training towards the school canteens or municipalities. I would like to know who is in charge of the training and what kind of training it is. It consists of one shot or in like 2 or 3 times of trainings. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. That's a very, very good question. No, the training is done by, we made a call for offers, and there were 3 groups or businesses who work in quality management in food supply chain. They made an offer. They prepared a training course. The training course, it's nearly finished. We will get to know this from the 3 different appliers. We get to know now how they do it. Then we do the training on the place. The focus is on how to do your supply with organic food and whatever, and then the food wasting. And then after 4 months, there will be a review. Where are they standing? And we have, and that I should have precised on that maybe. So every canteen has a way how they work, Cahier de Charge or Lastenheft, and those we made a supplementary Cahier de Charge, but only with 4 conditions. So one is for the food waste, for example, that they should wait every 4 months for 2 weeks the food that goes in and the food that goes that's going wasted, that's going thrown away. And for organic, we say we fix an objective, and then we see if does the organic part gets higher and how is the price development. So that's after 4 months there's a really first review, and then 1 year later another review. So the people who are starting with us in the projects now, the municipalities, they do an engagement not for a one-shot strategy, but they are okay to do their homework and to yes, in a very sustainable way, stay tuned on the ideas we have. It's not a one-shot thing. So it's the trainings. There's no reason why we shouldn't develop or focus on more special points if we see that there's a certain problem that's occurring more often in the canteen.